Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Generative Geek. Today I want to talk about the latest model which is like taken over the world of AI. It's called the QWQ-32B by Qwen, right? It's built by Alibaba, and this model is like a rock star model. And I'm going to talk about why this model is such a big deal in the world of AI. First off, QWQ-32B is a model that only has 32 billion parameters. Like, think about it, guys. DeepSeek R1 has 671 billion parameters with 31 billion activated. Now, this model achieves very similar results. Like, look at the performance graph. It achieves very, very similar results to what a DeepSeek R1 does, but with just 32 billion parameters. So it's a significantly smaller model, but gets the exact same thing done. And today what we are going to do is I'm going to take this model and use it with OpenRouter, right? So, and what this blog, if you go to the blog that the Qwen team released, it also demonstrates how you can use the QWQ-32B model via Hugging Face and the Alibaba Cloud Dash Scope API. I'm not going to do that. You can obviously try that yourself. Maybe another video, I'm going to also show you how to use Hugging Face QWQ. If you go to that QWQ-32B, there is code there as well. You can look at this code as well of how to use this model. But today what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to OpenRouter and I'm going to show you how to use Qwen using OpenRouter. There is a free model there, and there's also a way to access paid model, in the sense there are providers who have this model, right? So if you come to the Qwen QWQ-32B on OpenRouter, and then you scroll down, you will see various providers are listed, right? And each provider has a different cost, right? So this is also becoming a very decent business now, where you have these models hosted on your infra and you charge for that model basis. And the key factor there is if I was to select which provider to go with, I'll say, hey, I would want significant decent size context. I would want pricing to be competitive, and obviously low latency and high throughput, right? So why will I select a 22.98 token per second when I can get, let's say, a Grok that will give me 427 tokens per second, right? Or let's say a Fireworks that will give me 144.6 tokens per second, right? So that becomes the difference, guys, in all of this game. So what I'm going to do is, now I'm not going to write code by hand. By now, a lot of us, we understand how code has to be written in the world of AI. So I'm going to use cursor. So let me come to cursor. This is my cursor screen. I'm already in a folder. What my agenda is very simple. Let me open the main.py file first. Main.py, and I'll help you out with 2-3 things. One, connect with QWQ-32B using OpenRouter, right? So we'll use OpenRouter API. Then we'll send a message to QW, get the response, print the response, right? So this obviously we'll do. Then what I'll also do is we will make use of the right providers, right? So we saw that there are several providers here. Which provider to go with and what is the difference, that I want to show you, right? So how do you do that? Number 6 is where I will show you how to use online version of the model, right? So how do you use online version of the model? Using OpenRouter. So this will be largely what we are going to solve for. What I'm now going to do is create a .env file. Before we get started, really with the coding part, in case if you don't have a login for OpenRouter, my suggestion is go to openrouter.ai, get yourself a login, and then you should also add some credits, right? So I added these credits long back. You can see 8 months ago, I added around $9 and I still have $3. And it's not like I don't use OpenRouter. I use OpenRouter quite a bit, but the credits don't get exhausted so quickly. And there are a ton of free models as well. If you want to go and, you want to use Microsoft fee 4, there are a lot of models, right? I can come to models, and I've already done a video on OpenRouter, where if you see there are models where you can say, hey, what is the prompt pricing? If I make it free, I'll still get a lot of models, right? And you can try these models for free. How well they will perform in terms of latency is a different problem. You might have to, because these are free models, you might have to wait a bit, but these models are available, right? They are available on OpenRouter and you can use them, right? So now without any further ado, what you should do is once you have the credits, right? So install the credits. Otherwise, the model that I'm going to use, it's not a free model. See, QWQ-32B free is also available. This is the name of the model if you want to use the free one. And I can probably show you that as well. But I want to use this model, which is not a free model, but the cost is like hardly anything. Like, look at it, 12 cents per million input tokens. I think a word is like around 0.8 tokens, or one token is 0.8 words, something like that. I'm forgetting what is the, how much is one word to one token. But you get it, right? If one word is one token, let's just say, even then, this is like hardly anything, right? And we'll see. I'll also be able to show you the cost differences as part of this this video, right? So once you are here, once you have your API, let's go to the keys part. And what we should do is click on create key. So you see create key. We'll click on create key. I'm going to call this demo key. Delete after this, right? So I'm going to obviously delete after this. And you can have like a credit limit if you want. Let's just keep it 5. Let's say if my credit limit is, hey, don't let even if this key gets exposed, keep my downside protected at $5. Then you just click on create. You get the key, copy the key, come back to your cursor, and on cursor I'll say OpenRouter _API _key is equal to, and you paste your key, right? So whatever is your key, I'm obviously going to delete this key just before uploading the video. Now what I want to do is I'll have cursor write the code for me, and cursor now has, if you are on the right version of cursor, and let's just say if you don't have cursor, use Perplexity, use Claude, use ChatGPT, whatever you want. I'm using cursor because, I want to rather give instructions on what to do than do it myself, right? So, and cursor now has an agent mode. So all I'm going to say is, hey, using, and before we do that, what we should do is come back to OpenRouter and go to the Qwen model, Qwen QWQ-32B, and you see the API here. Like, if you click on API, you can see how this API is supposed to be called. What we'll do is we'll take OpenAI Python, and I'm just going to copy this, right? So I'm going to copy this, come back into my agent, using the code that I got from, and since Sonnet thinking, I'll probably make it Sonnet, not thinking, using the code that I got from OpenRouter website, and your knowledge of @web, and @web basically in cursor allows it to go and access the web and fetch data for us, right? Build me code which will access this model, right? Access the QWQ-32B model. My key is in .env file, right? So I have that. Now I'm going to just say send, and hopefully it's still generating. It will then get started, and it says, hey, I'll help you build a Python script, and it's now generating. Set up the OpenAI client with OpenRouter's base URL, and it's doing its stuff, right? So we gave it what it needs. And it has a prompt now that it's going to send, and I'm hoping that asking whatever is the user prompt and let it finish. But you can already see the code, right? So what it is doing is, and I'll probably just close this. So if you look at it, what it is doing is it's importing some stuff, and then it's saying, hey, I'll instantiate an OpenAI client. So all of these OpenRouter, one beautiful thing they have done is they have taken OpenAI's base SDK or the base API as the template and just use that. And it has made, and a lot of people have done it, right? So a lot of providers have done it, and that has made life very, very easy for developers. I'm seeing this still go on. I hope it does not change, and I can see it changing my .env file as well. I don't know why it, I had already told it that, my key is there. It's now reading the requirements.txt, and cursor is slightly slow right now. I don't know if it's because of the traffic that is there on Cursor's website, Cursor's server right now. But you can see already, what is happening is most probably we don't need these extra headers, right? So, but then we specify the model name. The model name is the same as the model that we have here. Like, when you go to OpenRouter and you look at this, you can copy whichever model you are on. If you copy the model's name, that name is specified here. Like, if you look at it, right? So that name is already specified. And then what is the meaning of life? That's the user prompt. And yeah, I hope that, it has finished building. In agent mode, actually, I was expecting it to also run it, but it's okay. Maybe what we'll also do is I'm going to do Command-Shift-P and create an environment. And I'll create an environment and I'll load up the dependencies, right? So I can see that the dependencies are already listed. These are the dependencies. We are already created the environment. Now let's go to terminal and I'll close this. So I can see clear. And if we now say Python, Python main.py, let's see what comes back, right? So what is the meaning of life? That's what it is asking QWQ. And it quickly came back with stuff saying, hey, it gave me a lot of stuff like, what is QWQB's response? Maybe I'll just take this up. The question is one of humanity's oldest and most profound inquiries and all of that. And then it gave a conclusion that each person must answer this for themselves. It may involve elements of spirituality, scientific curiosity, and all of that, right? So, but now if I come back and I say, hey, you know what? How much was my usage? So I'll go to view usage and my cool app, and the app name is coming as my cool app because maybe that was the header we were sending, right? So let's just see, site underscore name, my app, my QWQ demo app. That's the query. I have not specified my cool app anywhere. Okay, so we'll debug that later, right? So, but if you look at it, I just spent like 0.000625 and Grok was my provider, right? So that's why you can see what was the speed, right? 436.8 TPS. And this is the money I spent. Like input tokens were 17 and 1590 were the output tokens, right? So now if I just change, let's say, just to show you, if I had to use, let's say, OpenAI GPT-4o, if I had to use OpenAI GPT-4o for the same thing, or let's just say 4o mini, right? So if I had to use 4o mini for the same thing, I'll copy this, I'll come back to my code window, and I'll say, hey, you know what? Instead of Quen, use OpenAI, right? So I'll say instead of Quen, use OpenAI. I'm going to close this, clear the window, terminal window below. I'll come back up 1 second. Yeah, and say Python main.py. Now we are asking the same question to OpenAI. We are not asking it to QWQ. We are asking it to OpenAI, right? So it's showing QWQ because that's hard coded. But let's go to credits. Let's go to view usage. And you can see the provider was OpenAI. I was charged 0.000102. So 4o mini is slightly more cheaper than QWQ. But let's say if I had to use GPT-4o, 1 second. I just want to pick the latest model, right? So I don't want to pick GPT-4o, OpenAI GPT-4o, Chat GPT-4o, latest. Okay, I hope this is the one. You can already see the price difference, right? So it's $5 and $15, right? So it's a fairly expensive thing, but just to show you, I'll do that change as well. So I'm going to say, hey, you know what? Let's change the model and we'll use latest, right? So let's see what comes back. It's taking slightly longer. This is the 4.0 model. It has given a longish answer. I'm less interested in the answer right now, to be honest. I'm more interested in what kind of costs am I undertaking, right? So look at it, like, we paid a lot of money as compared to what we paid when we used Qwen or GPT-4o mini. So you get it, right? So this is how we set. But now when you come back to Qwen, I'm going to switch back to Qwen now, because that's the objective of my video. How do you use Qwen? And I'm going to change the model. And now I'm again going to invoke by saying Command L. I'm going to say change. So if you look at it, we are done with the first three. We have printed the response as well. We'll now make use of the right providers using the knowledge of. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Cursor to update this code to use either Grok or Firecrawl, right? So there's no point using one of these slow ones, right? Like Deep Infra or maybe a Nebius AI Studio. I don't want to use them. I either want to use Grok or Fireworks, right? So using the knowledge at the rate web, can you add code to main.py so that we use either Grok or Fireworks as provider, right? So I'm now asking it to use either Fireworks or Grok. It's going to go back to the internet, figure out how to make those changes. It's going to make those changes, and I don't know why it's saying Grok API key and all of that. Clearly not what I wanted it to do. It's doing something completely random. This is not what I asked it to do. Maybe it understood it incorrectly, and this is something we'll have to reject, right? So we'll come back to main.py and reject this code. We'll not at all apply this code. So what we'll do is I want you to update the code of OpenRouter API so that it uses Grok and Fireworks as the provider when using OpenRouter API at the rate web, right? So I have now made it more explicit. Maybe my instruction was not very explicit. Let's see what comes back. And sometimes this is the thing with these AI coding tools as well, right? You give them instructions, but you should also still know what exactly is required. I'm hoping that it is doing the right thing, and we'll know in a while. Okay, it seems like it is. Providers routing, I've added the ability to specify preferred providers in the request based on OpenRouter's provider routing feature. Yeah. So let's just see what came back. Role user, extra headers. Why is it not applying? I'm in agent. Okay, I'm in ask mode now. Sorry, not in agent mode, and therefore, yeah. So we'll apply this manually, and I'll accept this as well. And let's see what came back, right? So I'm just going to close this and we'll walk through the code. OpenRouter API key, we get the API key. Then we are saying, hey, this is my prompt, this is my site name. And if you look at the blog that these guys made, at some place I had read that, they recommend using a temperature of 0.6, right? So we have 0.7, we can probably use 0.6. And use providers is none. Role is this. Use providers. If use providers, then params, whatever is the order. And it's just going by that. Content, completion.choices. What is the meaning of life? Asking all of that. And where are we defining the providers, right? So get provider using response, get model, preferred providers. Yeah. Okay. So here we have, it has hard coded these. And we are okay with it. So let's just see, right? So let's see. I'll clear the terminal, bring it up again, and run this via Grok. What is the meaning of life? What I would also want is that whenever the response comes back, I would want it to also show me who was the provider who gave me the response, right? So what was the provider? And it's taking longer time than I was expecting. We can probably look at this guy, what happened. Still not got a reply. It's taking much longer this time. Is our provider not working, or user prompt if error, asking via join, what is the meaning, response, testing, okay, response from Novita. I don't know why it used Novita, and therefore you see guys, it says it got some response from Novita. Now Novita is a very slow, like, let's just go back and refresh the activity, and I can see that Novita AI responded. I don't know why Novita responded. We never asked Novita to reply. Testing without provider specification. Okay, this is testing without provider specification. Response from Grok using this. Sure. Asking Quen default routing, explain in simple terms, key quantum concepts, how it helps. Let's just go through the code once again. I'm not too sure what it is doing. So what it is doing is it's saying preferred providers, then it is asking join, response, use providers is preferred providers, right? If error response, then print response using this, testing without provider specification, explain quantum computing in simple terms. Was there a spelling mistake or something? Because Grok should have worked, Fireworks should have worked. I'm finding it slightly hard to believe that there is a spelling mistake here. So there was some issue. What was happening was where we are sending the providers, the provider was not being sent correctly. So I've just fixed this part. I asked Perplexity what was wrong. I just gave it the entire code and I asked it what was wrong. And it told me that there is an error here, and I've just fixed that error. I did not want to waste your time on me fixing the error. So let's see, right? So I'm just going to say, I'm just going to move this further up. I'm going to say Python main.py, and it's asking via Grok, what is the meaning of life? And we are now getting a response from Grok that testing, we did not get any response from Grok, like, surprising. So guys, this is also quite possible when you are using these models. What you could also do is add a check on the response length. Now it is doing without any provider specification. So what's probably happening is that Grok is replying back, but it is not replying back with any answer. And if I go back to my OpenRouter and I come here and I see Grok is probably saying that, hey, I replied back, but dude, I did not get anything back from you. So and now it's taking a long time because this thing is maybe using one of those slower ones, right? So maybe it is using Nebulous AI or one of these guys, right? So we'll know once the answer comes back. But another check that we can add is that, if the response length, and let's see which one was used, response from Nebulous, right? So it took Nebulous as the default, and that's what the code is doing. It first makes use of the providers, and then it does without any provider specification, right? So this is how you do it. Now let's just say if I change the question and I say, hey, who won the Champions Trophy cricket match yesterday, right? So there was a cricket match yesterday between India and New Zealand, and India won the Champions Trophy. But let's just say now this model is not an online model. It has a cutoff date, right? So let's see what if I ask it who won the Champions Trophy. I want to figure out what answer comes back, and I'm going to ask the same question. I'm not going to ask it to explain quantum computing. So let's see. I've saved this. Now let's see what comes back, right? So we have done. I have already walked about the first five things. We'll make use of the right providers. You by now know how to use the right providers. So you can define providers and you can define their order. I can even say, hey, don't use Grok, use Fireworks first. So I can edit this where we have this Grok as first. I can say, hey, use Fireworks and then use Grok, right? So that's also all right. Let's do that. I'm going to use Fireworks and then we'll use Grok as a secondary. So my primary now is Fireworks, right? So let's see. I'm going to say Python main.py, and it's going via Fireworks Grok, who won the Champions Trophy cricket match yesterday. Let's see what comes back, right? So I don't know why it's taking so long. It should not be taking so long. Maybe the models or the infra is pretty loaded right now. And Fireworks is also not responding back with anything, right? So very, very surprising. And it's going, and I don't know, guys, I did several tests today and it was working out fine. But I think as I'm making this video, Murphy's Law had to kick in, and there is this issue. But my whole objective of the video is still getting serviced, and I'm taking a win from that. So let's see. Response from Novita using as an AI. I don't have real-time data to confirm. However, I can share that last ICC Champions Trophy was held in 2022 where Pakistan won the final and all of that, right? So, this is not an online model, right? So, but how do you make a model online, right? How to use the online version of the model? If you come here to Qwen, you don't find any way to do that, right? But what OpenRouter has done is OpenRouter online model. So I'll just say models. Let's just see what comes back. Okay, I'm trying to find the documentation. I'm just access how to, and I'm just writing some keywords. So access 300 plus models. I'm just trying to see if I find that. So that, yeah, so this is the one, right? So web search, right? It says you can incorporate relevant web feature results for any model on OpenRouter by activating and customizing the web plugin, or by appending :online to the model slug, right? So the model slug is this thing, right? So this is my model slug. If I append :online, that's what it is saying, then the model becomes online, right? So let's just try. I'm going to keep everything the same. I'm only going to change the model name. So we are using 32B. I'll say 32B :online, right? So :online, right? So I'm using that now. So let's see. If I'm doing this, what comes back? Control C, Control S. I'll just going to take the terminal up. Python main.py, right? So asking QWQ-32B via Fireworks, who won the Champions Trophy cricket match yesterday. I don't know why it's taking. Okay, response from Fireworks. India won the ICC Champions Trophy final, defeating New Zealand by 4 wickets on March 9th, 2025. So you see, guys, this thing is there. This is the online model. It is telling us, even here you can see defeating New Zealand by 4 wickets in a closely contested match. This is not the 2024 final, it is the 2025 final, but the thing is correct, right? So the win marked India's third champion and extended the white ball dominance and all of that, right? So testing without provider, it then used Grok. And Grok gave this answer, right? So defeating New Zealand by 4 wickets on March 9th. So you see how we were able to take a model, make it go online. And this you can do with any model for that matter, right? Whether they support online or not. This is like a tool that they have given, right? So this is it, guys. I'm going to upload this code on GitHub and make it available to you. As always, keep your keys very safe. And if you learned something new on this while watching this video, do like, subscribe. That's the only ask I have. Thank you so much for your time again, and hope to see you very soon.